Discover the incredible truth. Are humans just a temporary phase in Earth's life-changing journey? Jake stared at the grease-stained walls of his small garage, the scent of oil mingling with the evening air. He was just a humble mechanic in a fading town, tucked away between fields of corn and skies that seemed to whisper stories of generations past. Yet, in the quiet moments after the squeal of brakes and hum of engines, dreams filled his heart. Adventures across mountains and valleys called to him like a siren song. But each day, the ways of his mother's fears pulled him back to reality. Mary, his mother, held family close, firmly clinging to a belief that love and security resided in the familiar. She shared stories of a time before the townsfolk had split into two camps, those who embraced change and those who resisted it. Her words echoed in his mind, and he felt the sharp ache of loyalty tug at his heart as the annual harvest festival approached. Excitement buzzed through the veins of the town. But lurking beneath that joy was the impending threat of a faceless developer, a figure wrapped in the iron grip of ambition, intent on erasing the town's essence for profit. Main Street, revered by Jake, could soon become a ghost of its former self. The thought made his chest tighten. Was letting go their only choice? His mother had always said that family held them together, but his yearning for something greater clawed at his spirit. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake decided to rally the townsfolk against the developer. The night of the town hall meeting, nerves twisted inside him like a wretched knot. As he stood before his community, words slipped through his fingers. His first attempt to push back ended in a cascade of laughter and scorn. His mother's eyes mirrored his own disappointment, and he felt something break between them. The weight of his family's expectations and the love he had for her suffocated his dreams. Days turned into weeks, and hope dimmed. But then, as he rummaged through his father's old box of belongings, he discovered old documents hinting at the town's heritage, tales of resilience and unity, of ancestors who fought against greed for the land they loved. Fire stirred in his heart, igniting a passion that made him rise once more. The next town hall meeting, Jake stood taller, ready to reclaim the spirit of his community. He felt the energy in the room shift. Hearts began to echo his hopes, and he realized this fight was more than just for him. But just as he gathered those around him, chaos erupted. The developer's shadow loomed large, and his mother's voice rang louder in his ears, reminding him of everything they risked. The meeting erupted like a thunderstorm, a clash of ideals in the very air they breathed. As Jake gazed into the crowd, he noticed his mother's worried face, the pain of their division cutting through him. Would love and family be enough to overcome this storm, or would they be left with nothing but fractured dreams? The question hung heavy in the room, waiting for an answer, just as Jake stood at the precipice of his greatest challenge yet. Jake took a deep breath, and the weight of his determination surged within him. He stepped forward, feeling the eyes of the townsfolk on him, heavy with expectation and doubt. A restless murmur rippled through the crowd, but he raised his hands, begging for silence. This was the moment that would define not only his spirit but the heart of the community he loved. Listen, his voice cut through the tension, sharp and unwavering. I know change is scary. I know we're worried for our homes, worried for our families. But if we don't stand together now, we risk losing what makes us who we are. Faces softened slightly, nodding in agreement. But that shy flicker of hope was still wrestling with uncertainty. Jake could see it in every furrowed brow, every downcast gaze. They were afraid just like he was. But there's a reason we're all here tonight, he continued, emboldened. This isn't just about a developer and a piece of land. It's about the history of this town. It's about the families who built it and the future we want for our children. A few murmurs of encouragement floated through, but Mary's worried expression lingered at the edge of his vision. How could he convince her, the one person whose approval mattered most, that fighting for their town was worth the risk? A low voice cut through the crowd. It was Old Man Horowitz, a legend in the town. "And what do you plan to do? Talk them out of buying us out? They're a giant. We're just us." With every ounce of sincerity he could muster, Jake faced this elder. "Yes, they have money, but we have heart. We have history. If we band together, we can show them that this land is not just a property line on a map. This is our home. Home." Mary's voice was barely above a whisper, and Jake risked a glance at her. Her jaw tightened as if grappling with the very essence of what he was saying. The chaos around him rumbled softly, as people began to recall beloved memories of the town: the laughter at the annual harvest, the summer evenings at the park, the love and support shared among neighbors. Could they really fight to protect it? "What about the children?" he called out, drawing on the emotions that filled the room. "The future we're building for them? Don't we owe it to them to stand up to protect what is rightfully ours? Do we want them to grow up in a place where memories are paved over by concrete?" A shiver of recognition coursed through the crowd. They weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the legacy they wanted to leave behind. But just then, a figure stepped forward from the shadows, an unfamiliar face with a sharp suit and an air of authority. The developer. Jake's heart plummeted. Could his words truly have the impact he dreamed of against this imposing darkness? "Let us cut to the chase," the developer said, smirking slightly. "All this sentimentality won't change the fact that I hold the cards now. Unless you can gather some real evidence of this so-called history, I suggest you pack your bags." The air thickened with fear and resentment, but Jake's breath caught in his throat, igniting a fire within. Instead of despair, anger bubbled over. He wouldn't let them destroy everything he held dear without a fight. With his mother's glance challenging him, he felt the stir of defiance rise. But he needed a plan, something tangible to back up his passion. What would it take to unite the town when they were facing an enemy so formidable? As Jake's mind raced, he understood only one thing. The clock was ticking, and the fate of everything hinged on what they could do next. He needed to act, and act fast. Would he be able to rally the town, or would he be left standing alone, the echo of his dreams swallowed by the encroaching shadows? The room buzzed with uncertainty, and with that question lingering, he knew the battle was far from over. And as he turned to gather allies, a single thought struck him: what if they had overlooked something essential about their town's history? Something that could change everything? Or had he truly underestimated the power of those who wished to destroy it all? As hope flickered in the depths of his heart, Jake took the first step toward their uncertain future, ready to uncover the truth. Jake felt the adrenaline coursing through him, mingling with the fears and doubts that had haunted him. The developer's words hung heavy in the air, and he could see the flicker of worry in the faces around him. He needed a plan, he needed hope. Turning away from the crowd, he felt a sense of urgency surge within him. He spotted Mary near the front, biting her lip, her expression one of uncertainty. He pushed through the throng of townsfolk, instinctively knowing that she would be the key to mobilizing everyone. He stood before her, his heart pounding. "Mary, I need your help," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet filled with conviction. She looked at him, her eyes a mix of alarm and curiosity. "Jake, how? What can we even do against someone like him?" Her voice trembled slightly, revealing just how deep her fears ran. "We'll show them our history," Jake replied, shaking off the fading tremor. "Remember the old schoolhouse? The way it stood for generations? Its walls hold secrets and stories. The memory of the dusty building, still standing even when the newer structures around it gleamed with progress, flickered to life in his mind, a testament to their legacy." Mary's eyes widened thoughtfully. "You think we can do something with that? But where do we start?" He gestured toward the gathering crowd. "Let us collect stories. Everyone here has a memory, a piece of what makes this place ours. If we compile those, it might just be what we need to present to the developer. We can show him that this town won't easily let go of its past." As excitement sparked in Mary's eyes, She nodded slowly. I think it could work, she replied, her voice gaining strength. Encouraged by her response, Jake turned to the crowd, raising his voice once more. I need everyone's help. We're going to gather our memories, stories, photographs, anything that shows the heart of this town. This is not just about fighting an outsider. It's about rallying as a family and telling our story. A low murmur spread through the crowd, a sense of movement starting to build as families began to exchange glances, weighing the idea. Think of your childhood. The shop down Main Street where you bought your first candy. The friends you played with by the old swing set. Those stories matter. Jake continued, feeling a pull from every direction, as if he was weaving a rope of shared experience that could tether them all together. Old Man Horowitz cleared his throat again, his voice echoing in the growing commotion. You really think they care? Those folks only want to get rich. Jake stood a bit straighter, feeling the fire in his belly. We won't let them care or not. We'll make them care. We'll remind them that this land is more than a transaction. This is where lives were lived and memories were forged. With a renewed spirit, the crowd began to stir with the excitement of possibility. Mary slipped her hand into his briefly, her grip strong. Let us get started, she said, determination flooding her voice as they began to move in small clusters. Exchanging stories, ideas blossomed like wildflowers. Jake felt energy crackle around him. But even as joy bloomed, a gnawing worry remained in his mind. What if their stories weren't enough? What if the developer had allies connections that would undermine their passion? Lost in thought, he nearly missed a commotion building in the back. Curiosity prickled at his spine as he turned to see a figure step into the light, a young woman with piercing blue eyes and a sense of purpose that radiated from her. She held a worn-out notebook clutched to her chest, her presence instantly demanding attention. I have something to share, she said, her voice cutting through the growing excitement. All eyes turned, curiosity mixed with hope rising anew. Who was she, and what could she possibly add to this moment? As she stepped forward, Jake's heart kicked into high gear, sensing she could be the key to unlocking something even deeper than merely their collective memories. Maybe, he thought, just maybe, she's got the truth that could change everything. Jake leaned forward, intrigued. What do you have? He asked, unable to control the anticipation pressing against his chest. The young woman took a deep breath, as if steadying herself. My name is Eliza, she announced, the notebook trembling slightly in her grip. I've been researching the history of this town for a project. There's so much more here than we realize. Her blue eyes glimmered like stars, capturing the crowd's attention. Research? Old Man Horowitz interjected, crossing his arms with skepticism. What could a young girl like you possibly have that we don't already know? Jake felt a rush of possessiveness over their town's story. But before he could say anything, Eliza opened her notebook, flipping through pages filled with handwritten notes and sketches. There are stories here, stories that go back generations. The land we're standing on isn't just dirt and dust. It holds memories. Some of them are buried, but they're ours to uncover. She paused, scanning the crowd. Did you know that the original schoolhouse had a library? A place where the entire community would gather, learn, and share ideas? Right before it was closed, people penned letters that were never sent, memories lost to time. But I found some. Jake's heart raced. He glanced at Mary, who was staring at Eliza, her expression a mix of awe and curiosity. This girl might lead them to what they needed, a connection, an untold story that could resonate with the developer. Letters? Mary breathed. What do they say? Eliza nodded, flipping to a page with a neat, handwritten note sketched in the least faded ink. This one was written by a teacher back in the 50s. It talks about hopes for the future of our town, how they envision children learning in that very schoolhouse. She looked up, her eyes shining. Do you think that developer cares about those dreams? Or does he just see dollars and cents? A murmur of disagreement rippled through the crowd. A few older faces nodded. She's right, someone said. That schoolhouse was the heart of this place. Jake's pulse quickened as he imagined a way to frame their histories as a living tapestry. The more stories they gathered, the stronger their message would be. This wasn't just about stopping a project. It was about reclaiming their identity. "Let us find those letters," Jake declared, determination surging. "We have a legacy to restore. If we can dig deep into these stories and bring them back to life, we'll show Mr. Developer the importance of what he's up against." Eliza beamed, her passion infectious. "I'd love to help. I have researched a few locations around town where other letters might be hidden. There could be artifacts, photos, who knows what else we can find?" As the crowd buzzed with newfound energy, Jake could see hopeful glimmers in their eyes. The weight of their collective past started to shift, lightning like dandelion seeds ready to take flight. Suddenly, their gathering had purpose beyond simply preserving old stories. They were forging a new narrative together. But just as hope began to flourish, a deep voice cut through the excitement. "What if those memories don't change anything?" A familiar face from the crowd, Marcus, stepped forward. "What if all this is just wishful thinking?" Silence enveloped the group, air thick with tension. Jake squared his shoulders, ready to defend the movement they had just sparked. But doubt crept in. What if Marcus was right? The air crackled with uncertainty. Eliza's earlier conviction flickered in the shadows of doubt that lingered, looming above like storm clouds waiting to unleash a downpour. "We have to believe," Jake declared, feeling the weight of the moment. "We owe it to ourselves and to those who came before. Stories matter." The pressure hung heavy, and as Eliza prepared to share more information, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something monumental. What they uncovered next could either rally them or unravel everything. The future of their town rested on the edge of discovery, and he knew they had a long way to go. What new truths awaited them in the dusty corners of their past? Eliza took a step closer to the crowd, her notebook firmly gripped in her hands. "I know it feels uncertain, but this town has a heartbeat," she said, her voice steadying. "We've just forgotten how to listen. The letters I found there filled with hopes, dreams, and fears of those who lived here before us. They believed in something bigger than themselves. We can find that belief again, together." Jake felt a surge of gratitude for her spirit. There was a fire in her that stirred something deep within him. "Let us start with the old schoolhouse," he suggested, glancing toward the dim silhouette of the building just a few blocks away. There must be more letters hidden there or in the basements of other old buildings. The murmurs of the crowd grew softer, yet a few people still wore skeptical expressions. Marcus's frown deepened. And what if they don't care? What if this is just a waste of time? He glanced around, hoping to catch someone nodding along with him. But then, Mary spoke up, her voice cutting through the tension like a sharp knife. "What if it's not? What if those letters are the key to showing everyone that we're not just some fading memory? What if we find out that we were once vibrant, and we are again if we choose to be?" Her words hung in the air, igniting a flicker of encouragement in several faces. Jake could see their resolve hardening, a collective determination brewing just beneath the surface. Eliza smiled, sensing the shift. "If we can gather enough letters, enough stories, we can present them to the developer and the town council. We just need a few strong voices to help amplify what we find." "Let us do it," Jake said, his voice booming with newfound confidence. "Let us make this town's dreams visible. We owe it to ourselves, to the future." The group nodded, small glimmers of hope sparking with each exchange of anxious glances. They were becoming a team, united by a common cause that transcended their fears as they began brainstorming a plan. Jake pulled Eliza aside, wanting to draw her away from the crowd's swirling energy for just a moment. "What's South your drive in all this?" he asked, curiosity pushing him forward. "Why do you care so much?" Eliza took a deep breath. "Because each story connects us to our past. I moved here a year ago and felt like a stranger. But when I began finding these letters, I understood that people here loved fiercely, and I want to honor that. I don't want to forget them, or let others forget them either." Jake felt the weight of her honesty, touched him in a way he couldn't quite explain. There was a bond forming, and he couldn't fight it even if he tried to. As the meeting concluded, they organized into small groups, armed with flashlights and excitement. They scattered into the evening, each one determined to unearth what they could of the town's hidden treasures. Yet, as Jake made his way toward the schoolhouse, an uneasy feeling lingered. What if the buried memories held secrets that were better left hidden? He shook off the thought but couldn't ignore the pang of worry. Would they discover something beautiful? Or something that might fracture the fragile bonds being formed? As he stepped through the creaking door of the old schoolhouse, shadows danced around him. He took a deep breath, anticipation prickling at his skin. What awaited them in the dusty darkness? That question hung in his mind, heavy and anxious. They were only just beginning to uncover their town's stories, but what if those stories changed everything? Jake pushed the door open wider, its rusted hinges protesting against years of neglect. Dust particles swirled in the beam of his flashlight, creating a shimmering path that beckoned him forward. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and forgotten memories. Each step felt like a crossing into another world, a world that held whispers of lives once lived, stories yearning to be told. He was joined by Eliza, who moved deeper into the room with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of discovery. "It's like the walls are alive with secrets." "Yeah," Jake replied, trying to suppress the lingering worry. "But what if those secrets are pain? Something we're not ready for?" She paused, considering his words. "Every story has its struggles, but they also have hope. We need to embrace both if we're going to understand this place. And each other." They split up, each taking a different corner of the classroom, their flashlights sweeping over the cracked walls and dusty desks. The wooden surfaces were like a canvas, painting hints of the past in peeling paint and scrawled names, initials of students, lovers, friends who had once filled the space with laughter. Jake knelt beside a small, forgotten desk. As he brushed away the dust, he uncovered a small, hidden drawer. His heart raced as he pulled it open, revealing several folded papers inside. They were letters, just like the ones Eliza had shown him earlier. "Hey, Eliza, come here." His voice cracked with excitement. She hurried over, her expression shifting from curiosity to wonder as she read the letters out loud. They spoke of dreams, joys, and ambitions. A girl named Sarah had written about wanting to become a wildlife photographer and roamed the meadows with her camera, documenting every beautiful moment. Another letter revealed a boy, Aaron, who had pledged to change the world with his inventions, determined to create a better future. "Look at how alive they were," Eliza breathed, her voice thick with emotion. They had so much hope. But as she turned the pages, the tone shifted. The next letter was scrawled hastily, words tumbling over each other, filled with despair. The writer lamented an impending drought that threatened their crops, the anxiety of families losing their farms, and the faint sense of hopelessness that gripped the town. Jake swallowed hard, his stomach twisting. "They were scared," he said quietly. "Scared of losing everything." Eliza nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "But they also fought back. They wrote these letters to each other, to find comfort and strength. They were trying to hold on to something." He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of their discoveries settle on his shoulders. The stories weren't just echoes of the past. They were reminders of the struggles they all faced. It wasn't just about finding letters. It was about finding community, resilience, and a shared heartbeat. A noise interrupted their moment, a soft creaking from beyond the classroom door. Both of them snapped their heads in its direction. The sound echoed ominously through the stillness, like a voice reaching out from the shadows. "Eliza," Jake whispered, a knot forming in his throat. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Fear and curiosity flashed across her face. What if someone or something is still here? Jake's heart raced at the possibility. Were they truly alone? Or had they awakened something much deeper in the heart of that old schoolhouse? Their eyes locked, uncertainty hanging thick in the air. They were on the brink of something monumental, but what lay behind that door could change everything. Once again, the creaking grew louder, each sound like footsteps echoing in their minds. Jake felt a chill creep up his spine as he focused on the door. What lay beyond was a mystery that stirred both dread and intrigue. "Jake, maybe we should—" Eliza's voice trailed off, uncertainty overshadowing her initial excitement. She shifted her weight, a flicker of hesitation crossing her face. "No," Jake said firmly, surprising even himself. "We can't leave now. We've come too far." He stepped toward the door, propelled by an unshakable urge to uncover the truth. Eliza took a deep breath and nodded, a spark of determination igniting her eyes. "All right, together, then." With that, they approached the door, their hearts racing in unison. Jake reached for the handle, cold to the touch, and pulled it open. The door creaked wide, revealing an empty hallway shrouded in shadows. "Hello?" Jake called out, the word hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Silence answered him, thick and heavy. He took a hesitant step forward, the floorboards groaning beneath his feet. Eliza followed closely, her flashlight beam darting along the walls. The hallway stretched ahead, dimly lit and seemingly endless. Old memorabilia hung on the walls, faded photographs, trophies encased in dust, ghostly remnants of victories once celebrated. "Where do you think those noises were coming from?" Eliza asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Jake admitted, scanning the dim corners of the hallway. "But I feel like we might find answers here." As they moved deeper into the school, the air changed. It was heavier, charged with the weight of history. Memories laced the walls, and with every step, Jake could almost hear the laughter, the camaraderie of childhood, the impending challenges looming in the shadows. A door to the left caught his eye. The frame was adorned with the name Ms. Wilder. His teacher from childhood popped into his mind, her fiery spirit and unwavering belief in her students' potential. He felt a pull, a connection he couldn't ignore. "Let us check this out," Jake said, walking toward the door. He opened it slowly, revealing a small classroom cluttered with forgotten lessons and dusty furniture. Sunlight poured through the grimy windows, illuminating the room like a treasure chest filled with memories. As they stepped inside, Eliza gasped. "Look at this." She edged toward the blackboard, where faded handwriting still lingered, lessons and notes from the past. Jake's heart ached with nostalgia. They were surrounded by remnants of lives intertwined with their own pieces that told of trial and triumph. He moved closer, tracing the letters with his fingers. There were drawings sketched in the corners, remnants of creativity and youthful dreams. "Eliza, do you think?" He paused, piecing together an understanding. "Maybe these aren't just stories. They're part of us. Every struggle, every triumph, it all connects." She turned to him, her face glowing with realization. "It's like we're stepping into their journey. We're a part of this, too." Suddenly a loud thud echoed from the hallway, shaking them from their moment of reflection. It was unmistakable. Something or someone had fallen. They exchanged wary glances, the sense of foreboding creeping back. Collecting themselves, they approached the door again, pulse quickening. They needed to find out who or what was making the noise. But as they reached for the door handle, an unexpected thought hit Jake. What if this leads us to something we didn't expect? He turned to Eliza, determination igniting in his chest. "Are you ready to face what's out there?" With a deep breath, she nodded. "Let us find out. Together." As they stepped out into the unknown, the air crackled with urgency. The thrill of discovery, coupled with a hint of fear, propelled them forward. Just outside the door, if they dared to look, lay a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered, one that could change everything they believed about themselves and the past they were uncovering. Stepping out into the hallway felt like crossing an unseen threshold. The air had a weight that seemed to sink into their chests, tightening their breaths. The sound that had disrupted their moment lingered in Jake's mind, an echo of mystery stubbornly inviting exploration. "Jake," Eliza said, her voice a trembling whisper. He looked over to see her gripping the edge of the doorframe, her knuckles pale. "What if it's something scary?" He nodded, understanding her worry, but feeling a stronger pull toward discovery. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he reassured her. Eliza took a deep breath, finally stepping forward, a flicker of courage igniting her hesitation. They moved quietly down the hall, the timid sound of their footsteps muffled by the layers of dust that coated the wooden floor. The school was a ghost of its former self, the faded memories whispering secrets that floated through the air. Each classroom they passed felt alive, as if the walls were alive to tell stories long forgotten. Suddenly, from around the corner, a shadow flickered. Jake halted, heart pounding. Eliza bumped into him, her breath quickening as they both stared wide-eyed into the darkness. "What was that?" she asked, clutching his arm. "Just a shadow," Jake said, but his voice shook slightly. There was nothing just about their reality. He took a step forward, his instincts screaming for him to investigate. "Jake," she warned, a tremor in her voice. "Maybe we should go back. What if we miss out on something important? Maybe that noise is the key to everything." He could see the conflict reflected in her eyes, the push and pull between fear and curiosity. Finally, with a reluctant nod, she agreed, and they trudged onward as they ventured deeper. The sounds of the school seemed to shift. Of the creaking and whispers, new noises emerged, shuffling feet, low murmurs that sent chills racing down Jake's spine. It was as if the very essence of the school was awakening, drawing them firmly into its memories. "Do you hear that?" Eliza's eyes widened. A slight tremor of terror mingled with raw curiosity. "I do," he whispered back, trying to keep his voice steady. They moved closer, following the sounds that surged forth, leading them to an open door at the end of the hall. The room's darkness contrasted with the hallway's light, pulling them in like a tidal wave. Jake reached out for the handle but hesitated, knowing what lay beyond could shake everything they believed. "Wait," Eliza said, her hand resting gently on his. "What if it's not what we expect? What if it makes everything we just found out feel meaningless?" Jake paused, the fear in her eyes striking a chord deep within him. "Then we face it together. Truth is rarely comfortable. It's messy, and it changes us. But we can handle it." With resolve he pushed the door open, creaked like it was protesting their intrusion. The space beyond held a strange glow. As his eyes adjusted, he realized they weren't alone. Figures flickered in the corners of the room, shadowy and indistinct, as if caught between worlds. He felt a jolt in the center of his chest. Was he looking at lost memories or something more dangerous? Eliza gasped, and he turned to her, his heart racing. "This is it. Whatever we find here, we have to stay strong." The figures turned toward them, their faceless forms shifting against the backdrop of possibilities and past mistakes. Jake felt the weight of their stares, heavy with questions he had yet to articulate. Moments passed, but time felt frozen in a heartbeat. "What do you want?" Jake dared to ask, voice barely escaping his lips. In that silenced moment, everything hung in the balance. They could flee, retreat into the safety of ignorance, or press on and face whatever truth awaited them. They had come too far to turn back now, hadn't they? And just as the tension reached its peak, a voice resonated deep within the darkness, rich with history and emotion. "You seek to understand." Their hearts raced, the weight of the world suddenly palpable. What awaited them could change everything. What was the truth? Waiting in the shadows? The answers, he realized, weren't going to be easy to bear. Eliza took a step forward, ready for whatever lay ahead. They pushed past their fear, the door of possibility swinging open with a creak. What if unearthing the truth demanded more than they were willing to give? The voice in the shadows echoed again, drawing them in like a moth to flame. "You seek to understand," it whispered, each word dripping with age and power. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine. What did that even mean? He exchanged a glance with Eliza, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. "Do we?" Jake replied, voice trembling slightly. "Do we truly want to know?" Eliza took another step, almost unconsciously. "I think we have to," her voice barely above a whisper. She knew they were in deeper than they could have imagined. The figures seemed to pulse around them, their forms growing clearer, yet still shrouded in a haze that blurred the line between reality and something else. The energy in the room shifted. A chorus of deep breaths and murmurs surrounded them, pushing and pulling with the weight of unspoken stories. "What are you?" Jake found himself asking, his voice steadier now, as if challenging the unseen force. The shadows swirled, gathering like storm clouds. "We are echoes," one figure finally spoke, its voice a low hum that resonated through Jake and Eliza. "Fragments of lives once lived. Questions unasked, histories untold." Eliza let out a soft gasp, clutching tightly to Jake's arm. "What do you mean fragments?" The figure flickered in response, and a bright light burst from its core, illuminating their surroundings for a brief moment. Memories, images of laughter, sorrow, love, pain flashed before them, scenes playing out like a movie reel. A young girl chasing butterflies in a sunlit field. An elderly couple sharing a quiet moment on a porch. A group of friends gathered around a bonfire, their faces lit by the flames and joy. Jake's breath quickened. These were more than memories. These were lives, stories interwoven with joy and heartache, and somehow, they were intertwined with his own. "Every choice," the voice continued, "carries weight. Every life alters the course of another. But here, in this forgotten part of the world, we are the guardians of these truths." "Guardians?" Eliza echoed, her curiosity battling her fear. "What truths?" "The truth that your existence matters. That every action creates ripples. But you must choose to understand, to confront the hidden parts of your own stories." The shadowy figure replied, its voice growing softer. "You cannot turn away now. You are meant to uncover these truths." Jake felt the pull of their words deep in his soul. What if uncovering those truths wasn't just about their school or this haunting past? What if it was about the scars hidden within their own lives, the fears and regrets they carried? Eliza took a shaky breath. "But what if we don't like what we find?" A flicker of light danced around the figures. "What is truth if not a pathway to freedom? Only through understanding can you transform pain into power." They stood in silence, the figures watching as reality shifted around them. Jake's heart raced with a mixture of dread and anticipation. What if we choose to see? What then? The room brightened momentarily, revealing their faces. The figures smiled tenderly, inviting yet solemn. "Then you will change. And through you, the world will." An electric thrill raced through Jake, igniting a spark of courage both terrifying and beautiful. "Together we'll face it. Right, Eliza?" He turned to her, searching her eyes for reassurance. She nodded, determination flickering beneath her uncertainty. "Together," she whispered, the bond between them solidifying under the weight of this unknown journey. The figures leaned closer, then stepped forward. "There are stories to discover, shadows to confront. What you find here may haunt you, reshape you, but you must decide if you are ready to embrace your truth." With pounding hearts, Jake and Eliza took their first steps into the luminous unknown, fate swirling around them, each step echoing a promise of change. But as they moved closer, a thought lingered. What if uncovering their own truth led them down paths they weren't prepared to tread? Would their bond endure, or would the truth they sought splinter their connection forever? As the glow intensified, illuminating deep-rooted secrets, they readied themselves for revelations that would forever alter their lives. What awaited them on the other side of fear, the liberation or burden of their truth? Jake and Eliza emerged into a realm of shimmering light, and with it came a rush of clarity. The figures that had once seemed ominous were now ethereal beings, glowing with wisdom and depth. Each face bore the marks of history, telling stories in ways words never could. "Welcome," a figure spoke, its voice more a sensation than sound, swirling through Jake like warm sunlight. "You have chosen to understand the essence of your town, and in turn, yourselves." Jake felt a tingle of understanding. The resonance of their shared histories encircled him, stirring memories that longed to surface. Eliza stood beside him, her gaze reflecting an intoxicating mix of wonder and trepidation. They took a step closer, ready to hear more. "The town breathes history," another figure said, its essence pulsing in time with Jake's racing heart. "It lived through moments of joy, love, and sorrow just like you. To safeguard its past is to recognize the shadows of your own lives and the power you hold over the future." "Power," Jake echoed, the taste of the word rich in his mouth. Memories loomed large, his childhood dreams, his mother's unwavering fears, the laughter shared among friends. Those pieces wove together to form a tapestry of longing and responsibility. Eliza, he said quietly, this is more than just stopping a developer. We're here to reclaim not only our town but ourselves. Yes, Eliza replied, her eyes sparkling with fierce recognition. We must honor those that came before us. Their dreams, their battles. It's all intertwined with who we are. As they spoke, the figures around them began to swirl. Swirling histories merging into one vibrant narrative, the laughter of children in sun-kissed fields, the echoes of protests against a forgotten drought. Some memories were chaotic, others serene. Jake could almost feel their heartbeat. In your quest to navigate these truths, one figure addressed them directly. You will not only empower the community, but will also uncover the deepest roots of your desires and fears. Are you prepared? Jake felt a churning in his gut, a wave of uncertainty crashing over him. I think so, he stammered, glancing sidelong at Eliza, who nodded fervently. But what if we find something painful? The figures emitted a collective hum, the air thick with anticipation. Pain is part of the journey. Only by embracing it can you transform. Each letter, each story, is a piece of the puzzle embodying the resilience needed to fight for your legacy. Steeled by their words, Jake and Eliza shared a glance, an unspoken bond bridging their fears. Let us dig deeper, Jake insisted, pulse quickening. Let us unearth the stories, learn from them, and show the developer we will not be silenced or erased. As you wish, the figures whispered, retreating for a moment. Show us your heart, and we will reveal the connections that bind you to your town, to each other. With a wave of their hands, the memories swirled to life, projecting glimpses of the past around Jake and Eliza. He could see his mother, young and hopeful, marching alongside others, fighting for their community during a pivotal moment. The teachers, the farmers, the artisans, they all connected through the love of something greater than themselves. The light flickered, and Jake could feel those connections resonate within him. This is it, he cried, excitement bubbling over. We need to remind everyone of this legacy. Eliza clutched his arm, fire igniting in her soul. Jake, together we can spread these stories, gather more narratives, and reawaken our community. We can show them their strength and spirit. As the figures nodded, Jake felt an exhilarating determination coiling within him. With newfound hope, he reached out. Let us go back. We have work to do. After a beat, they turned away from the glowing figures, leaving the warm embrace of their histories, stepping back into the familiar shadows of the schoolhouse corridor. The memories flickered and faded behind them, but the fire ignited in their hearts would not be extinguished. Jake and Eliza burst through the door, back into the daylight, where the town felt alive again. They realized there was no more time to waste. They needed to act fast. The developer wouldn't stop just because they were aware. They needed to gather witness, ignite passion, and share their revelations as they gathered townsfolk at the park. Jake stood at the front, heart pounding. Listen up, he shouted, feelings of warmth and fire coursing through him. Our stories are our soul. The histories buried beneath this land are echoes of our vibrant lives, the cries of our ancestors who fought to create a place we call home. People paused, eyes drawn to Jake's urgency. The developer may see cash, but we see family, struggles, and legacies. Come, let us reclaim our roots, rise together, and show the world who we are. He could see the flickers of hope blooming in their eyes, the embers of determination reigniting. Eliza stood by his side, her voice clear and powerful. Let us dig deep, gather your stories. Remember the laughter, the fights, the tears. Our past is not just gone. It lives within us. As the townsfolk began to rally, sharing their memories, tears of joy and laughter echoed through the crowd. The balance shifted. They were no longer simply fighting against a faceless threat. They were celebrating their identity and family. Jake turned to his mother, whose eyes shone with pride, the lines of worry easing as realization dawned. We're forging something beautiful, aren't we? She whispered, stepping forward to embrace him. "Yes, we are," he replied, his voice firm. "And it's time we all feel it. The community united, reigniting the spark buried deep within." As letters were gathered, stories were shared. The weight of potential solidified into something they could hold onto, a truth defining who they were, paving the brighter path ahead. Together, they found strength, purpose, and an unwavering love for their roots, ready to confront the world and defend the town that forever shaped them. And as hope surged around them, they would no longer fear the shadows. They would step into the light of their own truth, side by side, forever transformed. Now this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to catch the next incredible journey we embark on together. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and support our growing community. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. We're building something special, and only true fans like you understand the power of your support. Act now.